And now we present to you America's quintessential iconoclastic anomaly in talk radio, your host, Joe Cristiano.
Welcome, everyone, to the University of Logic, better known as Cristiano's Conservatory for correcting convoluted conversation. That's a mouthful, isn't it? The 5 C's of the University of Logic. Understand it's Cristiano's Conservatory correcting convoluted conversation. Folks, we hear convoluted conversations all day long. We hear it in commercials. We hear it from friends. We hear it from teachers. We hear it from everyone. But before we start with this program, I would like to give special thanks and recognition to our sponsors. Folks, understand this. This program would not exist had it not been from our sponsors. I mean, I can make this thing going so long, but after a while, things dry up. And our sponsors, and what our sponsors are doing is what they are saying through their sponsorship. Not only do they want you to frequent their businesses, but what they're saying is that I understand what you are saying. I think it's important, and I feel, and I will put my money where my mouth is. There are many places that these people can advertise, and they elect to advertise on this program. So frequent them. First, I'd like to mention Ranch Acres Audiology. For any hearing needs, go there. 918-749-7711. I mean, have any questions, just give them a call. Sponsors for this program, believe it or not, of Liberty Talk Radio for the past 9 years. Kudos to them. We also have with us All Tech Fire and Security. Now, they're a security firm, and they actually supply you with a camera with a security. That's a terrific. You've got to see what they have to offer. It's All Tech Fire and Security. We're going to need that. We're going to need more and more of that as things get a little bit tighter. Things are getting rough, folks. Things are getting better. Believe it or not, economically, things are getting better. But financially, things are getting worse. And you cannot build a house on sand. We're building a stronger house. It's better mortar, better roof, better 2x4, better everything. Unfortunately, the foundation is on sand, and it's not going to last, folks. Be careful. So go to All Tech Fire and Security, and of course, go to Go Liberty Foods. Go Liberty Foods will supply you with long-term food for storage. You don't know. Even if everything works out fine, there is going to be an ice storm or a snowstorm, and you don't want to be grabbing the last loaf of bread off a shelf when Bubba's standing next to you, he says, I think that's mine. You know, you don't want to get in that argument, I can tell you. You know, stay away from the food markets when that happens. Well, anyway, I just want to remember, this is the university. This is not a news program. This is not entertainment. Although we hope you are entertained and you enjoy the program, this is, in fact, the University of Logic, and that's Cristiano's Conservatory, correcting convoluted conversation. And that's what we're going to talk about.
Are you publicly funded? That's my question.
Absolutely. My wife gives me money. my wife and my entourage, they throw nickels at me.
There you go.
You know, we talked about this gun control in ad nauseum. You know, I just want to throw one thing out just for the heck of it. What if this crazy guy, who, by the way, let me become conspiratorial at this moment, okay? Put me in the box with all the nutcakes, because that's where I think I belong. But all of a sudden, right after the election, we have all of these shootings. I mean, every day you hear about a shooting. Right after the election. Before that, niente, nothing. You don't hear a word. No one got shot. No gang violence, by the way. Before the election, there was absolutely no gang violence. No drug lords were taking their .45, blowing anybody away. No drive-by shooting. Nothing. It was peace in heaven. Peace on earth, rather. It was like heaven. After the election, everyone's shooting each other. Kids are being shot. You go to First Cafeteria, you get a bullet hole in your head. I mean, you know what? I can't help it, but everything that goes on in the United States just smells. It just smells. It just is so damn contrived, I can't take it anymore. I just can't take this place anymore. Just think about it. Every other day, there's a shooting somewhere. 2 months ago, didn't hear anything. No one shoots anybody in the month of October. I guess it's a law. Jim, there must be a law, you know? That's exactly, folks, that's exactly where we're headed. That's exactly what. Thank you very much. That was a surprise. They didn't even tell me that. Yeah, I got this entourage here. By the way, just for future notice, you're all fired.
Oh, no. I just got started.
Oh, my goodness, great. This is hard. I'm looking for a substitute for me. These guys are too rough. Thanks a lot. But, but it was appropriate. It really is. But let's say, it just drives me absolutely nuts that all of a sudden I hear about all these shootings. It's always timing. These psychopaths in Washington have this thing timed. I mean, Joseph Goebbels of Germany, the German PR guy for Hitler, would marvel at our PR. He'll say, man, you guys are so much more advanced than I was. I was using flags and symbols. You guys use everything. And here we are. And every time we hear it, we go, well, I guess we should do something. And it drives you mad. What if the shooter, in this case, Lance, I think his name was, didn't use a gun. He used a homemade bomb. And you can make a homemade bomb using ingredients you get from the hardware store and the supermarket. Just walked in, threw the bomb in there, shut the door, bomb went off, all 20 kids get killed. What would the government do then? Well, you see, it wouldn't happen that way. Because now I'm being conspiratorial. I'm going to be the nutcase. You say, well, I listen to Joe, but he's crazy. I agree with you. I'm going to tell you. Tell your friends, this guy is nuts. He's a conspirator, nut, and everything. I am. Because I am now convinced, after hearing time after time after time, every single gun that went off that they have to advertise it around the world, there's something wrong. It becomes a PR issue. This guy, Lance, would not have used a homemade bomb because the government would not have given a homemade bomb to him. They would have not have trained him to do that. How you like that? Is that crazy? That is crazy. But you start thinking that way. I'm not saying that's true. I'm saying, but you have to start thinking that way when you really compare, when you study the sequence of events and then the aftermath. It's perfect. It's perfect PR. And now Biden is going around the United States giving speeches about guns, gun rights and safety and all this. Not gun rights, but why gun ownership is bad and how he cares about the children, and we have to care, and we have to be, oh, by the way, we have to be a more compassionate society, and having guns is the antithesis of that. And what do? We go, oh, look, he's doing such a great job. No, it's costing us hundreds of millions of dollars for this psychopath to go across the United States. And to con us into believing that if we did away with assault rifles, and there's no such thing as assault rifles, by the way, we would be okay. And this is what's going to happen, folks. Here's my prediction. They are not going to get their way on gun control, but they will get a little bit. They'll get something, And what we'll say to ourselves? We'll say, boy, we beat them that time, and we'll be one more step down that marching road. Exactly. That's exactly what we're going to be. Yeah. And those people in Germany, folks, thought the same way we're thinking today. We need to be protected. We need a government. And he's the person to do it. I'm going to vote for him. They thought that way, literally thought that way, when they were on the cattle cars going for the extermination. They can't be. They're putting us someplace so we'll be safe. And that's the way we think here. It's difficult for me to put a program together. There's so many things to talk about, issues, but I cannot discuss the issues because they're irrelevant. Everything has to do with the way we think. We have when the Merrill building in Oklahoma City blew up, was blown up. And there are movies on that proving beyond a shadow of a doubt that the story that was given to the public was not the true story. beyond a shadow of a doubt. And these are officials. These are not like, people that they hired. These are government officials who will testify to that. And yet, we think, well, we have to protect our children. And they'll use that as an example. And by the way, that was sort of homemade stuff in the Merrill building, for the most part. But we don't want to talk about that. We just want to go shopping. See, the only reason why you exist is to go shopping. So they can move product, so they can reduce the trade deficit, and they can tax you. That's the only reason why you exist. You are nothing. To the government, you are nothing. Remember, they just want you to work and pay your taxes. And if you think anyone in Washington cares about anything that you do or about you, you're living in the wrong country. You better move. No, it's true. I mean, everyone's laughing. This whole studio's laughing at me. They're laughing at me.
I think there's a little bit more to me than that, Joe. I mean,
oh yeah, they love you. They said, excuse me, except for our board man here. Yeah. They love him.
And they
hate
me.
everybody else.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, they love everybody else. Yeah. In fact, when he gets paid, they get the taxes he pays. They send him a check back every week.
That's right.
Yeah. My God. Let me give you. We're so compassionate that we need gun control to save our children, but yet 500,000 children were killed going into Iraq. But see, that was collateral damage by virtue of the fact that those children, those innocent children, were born on dirt, not close to us, but a little further away. They can be excused. Their lives don't mean anything. Then we have an embargo on Iran. Hundreds of thousands of kids have starved to death because of that. But, it's we have to be compassionate. And, here's the sad part. Not only is it sad that the people are dying needlessly. All this is needless. Absolutely needlessly. And forget about, protecting the terrorist garbage. You believe that? Take an aspirin. It's absolutely needless. And for what reason? There is none. Absolutely none. And then the sorrowful part is we listen to our psychopaths and say, well, we had to invade them to protect our freedom from terrorism. We have no idea. We sound like zombies. We're all zombies. You bet. Are we going to break now?
No, there's just zombies in the studio.
Okay, I figured
we got one more minute before the break, but there's zombies in the studio.
I think there's a couple of zombies sitting right with me. I'm scared. My God. Whew. Folks, if you think this is easy, it's not. I'll tell you that. Folks, if we start waking up, we have a chance of fighting this and winning. And when I say fighting, I don't mean taking to the streets. So I'm going to talk about that a little bit more. Everyone has its breaking point. Everybody. There was an article written by a senior editor of The Sovereign Man, Simon Black. It was one of the best articles I have ever read. Are we ready for this?
Yeah, let's
go to break. I'll take this later. Welcome back to the University of Logic, Cristiano's Conservatory, correcting convoluted conversations. You're here at Liberty Talk Radio. Folks, we're talking about an article that I've read by senior editor Simon Black. It's called The Sovereign Man is the newsletter. And it's excellent. He brings out a great point. A salient point, I should say. Everybody has a breaking point. Something happens in everyone's lives that turns them around. For example, you may be flying somewhere and normally don't think of politics or issues or government control. And you're going through the TSA checkpoint and you see some guy feeling up your little kids, to see if they have any. And all of a sudden you snap. It could be that for you. It can be anything. It can be that you get disgusted with terms that you don't understand. Support our troops. How can you support our troops? How can you do that when you don't support what they're doing? You see, what they do is they dismiss what they're doing. They say, support your troops. Say, well, I do support. I don't. It's not that, do you enjoy beating your wife question. You get sick of that. And that's what I got sick of that. I didn't understand. I got so sick of it. That was my breaking point. And it happened a long time ago. You ever hear a woman say, I'm only a housewife? We want to know what's wrong with our society? Yeah. Listen to that expression. Oh, I'm only a housewife. Or when we get married, we'll have kids. I'll have to get a job, but find good daycare. You want to know what's the matter with the family? There it is. And then we actually believe that we need 2 incomes. We'll have 3 kids, put them all in daycare. We'll have 3 jobs each, run back and forth. Kids don't see their parents, latchkey kids, all the stuff. Then we say, you know, there's something wrong with our society. There's nothing wrong with our society. There's something wrong with our brains. We can't say, well, you know, if we have children, who's responsible for raising them? Oh, the nursing place down the corner that's been closed 3 times because of all the that's where I'm going to send my kid. No, it's our responsibility. We have abdicated all of our responsibilities, either to a nursing place or a daycare center, or to the government. You might know something, folks. Let me be honest with you. You're not responsible for anything. Does that make you feel better? You are not You have no responsibility whatsoever. Just follow orders. Just follow orders.
We must silence the political
Exactly. And that you follow orders long enough, that's exactly what you'll hear. Only in convoluted English. And you'll hear the guy say, this is awesome, man. By the way, I was watching TV the other day. I don't watch much TV. It's off all day. Late at night, I put something on because I want to go comatose. I'll be honest, it's comatose time. I'm watching this program called Diggers. You ever watch that, Diggers?
No. What's that?
It's the dumbest program in the world. I mean,
Diggers?
Yeah. I Love Lucy was 2 steps above this,
Oh.
And the guys have metal detectors, and they go around and they dig stuff out of the ground.
I've seen promos for that, yeah.
These guys have a vocabulary of 5 words. Right, I'm not kidding you. One of which is awesome. I drove me nuts. But this is what's happening to this country. Guy says, man, this is an awesome dig. Oh, this is an awesome find, man. This is so awesome. I can't believe this is really awesome. That's the way they talk. Throughout the entire thing, that's all they talk about. And when I hear my friends talk, guess what? They go, oh, man, that's awesome.
That's great, yeah.
Do you know, I did some research, that the use of the English language in the past few decades has decreased 50%. Our word usage is down 50%.
Oh, I believe it, yeah.
Because instead of speaking intelligently, thinking, and being descriptive, you're saying, well, this was a...
It's more California girl kind of conversation.
Right, yeah, exactly what it is, Jim. And what happens if we say, how many often you say, oh, that's awesome. It reminds me of the expression in you. See, I come from the streets of New York. Now, we did this a long time ago. This was 70 years before awesome came out, right? And I'll tell you what we did. I tell everybody, when I give public speeches, I always tell people this. I said, if you want to go to New York, all you need to do is know 3 expressions. 3. And they all go in concert. It goes like this. Oh, what, are you kidding me? Get out of here. Forget about it. In that order. For example, Nikki can come up to you, right? Nikki comes up to you and says, hey, Joey Popcorn. That was my name. Joey Popcorn. Hey, you hear...
Your name was Joey Popcorn?
Joey Popcorn. You couldn't imagine why they called me Popcorn.
No.
They say, always pop it off. Shut up, Joey Popcorn. Anyway, Nikki comes up and says, hey, you hear Mikey's in hospital. What do you say? What, are you kidding me? Get out of here. Forget about it, right? Perfect answer. Nikki can come up to you and say, did you hear World War III is breaking out? What is your answer? What, are you kidding me? Get out of here. Forget about it.
Come on.
You see, we had no conversation. Everyone said the same thing constantly. You didn't have to say anything. All you have to do is, expression, put your finger up. That's expression 1, and that was, you could say like, but you heard that all the time. But I thought this was only in Harlem, But here we are now, and we're doing the same stupid thing. We don't exercise our mind. I belong to a Toastmasters club, and I'm going to admit this to you guys. You do? Yeah, I belong to, let me tell you, the same club for slightly over 30 years.
Wow.
30 years. In fact, my 30th anniversary, I think, was the second week in January. And you know what the number one problem I have is? Because now I'm the expert because I'm a professional speaker and all that stuff, and I've done this stuff for 30 years. I've been through it all. I give professional evaluations. I used to evaluate portfolios, people who used to give presentations, the whole companies, And so I know that I'm good at that stuff. I really enjoy that, So I do that now. And you know what happens when I give and I never say, man, you sucked. I always give constructive evaluations. You know what they do? When I leave, they go up to the person that I've evaluated. They say, are you okay with that? You're not going to quit. You don't feel badly about it. Because they tell me. I go, what did I say that for? They say, I don't know. Because we are afraid to converse today. All right? Let me tell you a little bit. We all have our breaking point. It could be anything. And when that breaking point occurs, we get confused. We don't know what to do. We say, I know it's not right. I don't want to go back. What do I do? This world is wrong. And we start searching, don't we? We want to do something different. We want to go to Cristiano's Conservatory correcting convoluted conversation because that learns something. They say, well, maybe I'm not the only one that feels that way.
Are there scholarships available to that university? Or?
For a price. And we learn things like, this is the cost. Being a slave is the cost of living in a free society. Think about that. Having regulation is the cost of living in a free society. And we know that's wrong. But people say, hey, man, that's awesome. In my Toastmasters Club, everyone knows if anyone says awesome, I kill him.
Oh, my.
No, you kill him.
I bet so,
I take my zombie knife, I chop him up right there. They know that. Yeah. Absolutely. And then we start to learn that every dissent is squelched. Every dissent is squelched. And what we need to do, folks, is we need to go back to the 1960s and the 1970s where people weren't afraid. They took to the street, grew their hair long, and said, I'm out of here. And what the 60s taught us is that they were out of here. What the 60s music said to us is that I'm out of here. I'm not buying it. And back then, of course, I'm a guy of the 50s. I said, hey, these guys are nuts. But as it went on, I start looking back at the 60s. I said, these guys had it right. That was my revelation. I'm not kidding you. I thought these guys were nuts. They're slobs, comb your hair, take a bath. And then as it went on, I said, oh, my God, these guys are right. And I remember one time I was crossing the street, guys hit me with this old car, and we gave this like the peace symbol, like that. And I did. I went, I'm one of them. And that's when I converted. Okay, what? Is it time for a break now?
Yeah, 2 minutes.
2 minutes.
2 minutes,
boy, what do you want to do in 2 minutes?
Well,
hey, how about someone call 855-866-1170? I'll take a call now, right before break. 855-866-1170. Let me hear from you. Bing. What's that? Sure.
I'm sorry.
Am I on?
I didn't put your. I'm sorry,
Okay.
Aaron. I'm sorry. Beg your pardon.
On now?
On now.
Okay. Hi, I'm Joe's wife, just hanging around here today. But I wanted to add that, he was talking about steps that lead to unexpected outcomes. And one thing I've been researching is some of the countries that fell after World War II. And Romania is one of them, because we happened to hear a speech by a young girl who escaped Romania at the time the communists took over. And one thing that was done prior to that time is, quote, all political activity was banned. Ooh. Think about that.
Yeah.
That's a step on the way to those marching boots.
Mm-hmm. It is.
But that's really happening. We have...
I think we're going to break.
Well,
No, that's all right. You can go ahead.
Well, these guys, what we have free speech zones or speech-free zones or what do they call them, Well, that's all part of it. See, you take it step by step, and eventually no speech zones. And you go, well, you have to have those, and we'll say, and guess what? Guess what the answer will be? Well, that's awesome. Let's go to break. I can't take this anymore.
Yes, you can.
I can't take this anymore.
There's some 60s music for you as we're going out, Joe.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us. I was reading an article by Judge Napolitano. If anyone wants to know, are you a Republican or a Democrat? I'm a disciple, basically, of Judge Napolitano, if you ever heard him. And he bases everything on freedom, on the freedom to act. For example, what difference does it make where a person is born? What they say, how they call, what difference does it make what piece of dirt you're standing on when you're born? Who determines that? What difference if it's Antarctica, if it's the North Pole, if it's New Zealand, Russia? What difference does it make? Well, you want to know, folks, there is no difference. This is the way you have to think. There is no you can't say, well, we do this because we're Americans. No, we're not. Someone told you. Someone gave you that label. And when people say, oh, that's the way you think, well, you obviously don't love your country, ask them to explain that. Explain, what do you mean by you love your country? You love your country. I had a guy tell me that one time. He knew me. He says, well, I love my country, Joe. You obviously don't. I said, explain that to me. He says, and I'm not kidding. This is the exact conversation. He said, I love the streams. I love the mountains. He says, I'm not too crazy about the desert. I said, you want to know something? I love the country more than you do. Just, how do you see that? I said, I love the mountains. I go hiking and stuff like that with my wife and camping. I love the streams. I love to go fishing. I said, but I also love the deserts. And he stood there, and he realized what a stupid comment that was. That's a real conversation. I'm not making that up. I can't make that up. It's too weird. But we have to understand that Judge Napolitano bases everything on natural law. And natural law basically says no one owns you. Fundamental laws are fundamental to human nature and are discoverable by human reason without reference to specific legislative action. Think about that. They are discoverable by human reason. Discoverable by human reason. Now, when I say that, those are all new words because I didn't say awesome in there.
Awesome.
Really, isn't that an awesome statement, right?
Awesome, you didn't say awesome.
A bunch of wise guys here this morning. Anyone comes over here, you can beat them all up for all I care. Except for my wife, she'll beat me up, Discoverable by human nature and are discoverable by human reason, rather, without reference to specific legislative enactment or judicial decision. So think about that. Those are such incredibly powerful. If we had a movement, worldwide movement, we would say the movement is expressing, supporting natural law. It's basic and fundamental to human nature. I mean, there was someone didn't make it up or legislate it or tell you what it is. It's fundamental to human nature. When's the last time you heard that, folks? Fundamental to human nature. And are discoverable by human reason without reference to specific legislative enactment or judicial decision. And how do we live our life today? Well, I'm not sure if I can do that. Is there a law against that? Yeah, I better check to see if I need a license to say that. Right? That's what we do. We have become accustomed to that. We have a caller online. Let's take a call right now, and we'll get back to that. Caller, you're on the air.
Okay, am I the caller?
You are the caller. Your name and where you're calling from.
Well, my name is John. I'm calling from probably a few blocks away here in Tulsa.
Oh, good. All right, John. Thank you for calling.
Oh, and I want to say, Joe, I really love your show. It's awesome.
Yay, it's awesome. Awesome.
You're going to drive me crazy.
All four of us out here just crazy about it. I'm afraid you're a little too intellectual for the average Okie. You probably don't realize it.
Are you kidding me?
I have Okies in the studio here. They correct me all the time.
Anyway, I was wondering if I could. It's hard to break into the exact subject you're on, but I wanted to gripe about a local issue.
Sure.
Well, now's a good time for my throat to get all.
Okay, you got to make it really quick, though. Okay. Make it quick.
Yes, it has to do with our water bill. We don't have any inflation. Our government told us so.
That's right, absolutely.
But I want to tell you, for 3,000 gallons of water, my water bill was $50. You know,
Yeah.
A few years ago, that same bill would have been about $5.
That's correct.
But we don't have any inflation. But I have a solution for this. If anybody will listen to me, I have a solution.
Okay.
And that is that we pay that our water bill should be paid by the amount of water we use, not all these fixed fees and just because fees and tax on tax and stuff like that. That brings it up. And I realize there are other services on there that say, well,
right,
you know,
yeah.
they will not let us compete for trash pickup, for example.
Right.
That's the whole idea of the Democrat Party, is to take away competition, and they're doing a real good job of it.
Yeah, but you know what? I agree with you. But let me just add something to what you're saying. Let's not say the Democrat Party. The Republicans and the Democrats are all the same.
Well, they sure
They're in the
are,
same
yeah.
boat.
They're
They do the same
politicians,
thing.
Joe. They're politicians.
Right. All they do is
They do.
blame each other so that you can take a side and think that you are having a voice in Washington. So when you say the Democrats, you better say the Democrats and the Republicans and all the other psychopaths in office that are sucking our money
do
out
what
of
they
us.
have to do. They do what they have to do to get elected. But the point I want to make is that we the little people subsidize the big people. I don't know if you got a swimming pool at your house, but if you do, I'm subsidizing it, because when we pay our water bill and all these various fees and whatnot, a person that uses 20,000 gallons pays only for the water, and they do not raise the so-called sewer biller.
Right.
We should be charged proportional to the water we use. In other words, a set amount per 1,000 gallons. You know, even if it's something like, say, $5 to $8 per 1,000 gallons would probably be fair, but everybody should pay the same. They've got all these rules where in the summertime, the people that can afford it water their lawns, fill their swimming pools, stuff like that, and they don't raise their sewer bill, because they base that on the winter usage. You know, when you're not out watering your lawn, you're darn sure very unlikely to be swimming in January.
Right.
But I just wish they would do something like that, and I would support a candidate, and regardless of their party. And you're right about one thing: there's just no difference in the two parties anymore, because they have to do what they have to do to get elected, and in order to do that, they have to promise to take money away from you and give it to me. Then I'm going to vote for them.
Especially if
if
I donated to the campaign.
That's right. Well, it always surprised me, caller. It always surprised me that they talk about water shortages, but the more you use, the lower your rate goes. You know,
absolutely,
and that doesn't make any sense. Well, we have to go right now. Thank you very much for calling.
Don't collect any
Appreciate
rainwater
it.
because
Well, I appreciate you letting me talk.
Yeah, and tell all your friends to call in the station and listen in. Okay, we need all the support we can get.
My friends don't get up this early. Most of them are probably still hungover.
Well, there's an excellent time to call every one of them. Okay, thanks a lot for calling.
All right.
Oh boy, that was terrific. He makes a good point. You know, so we're talking about natural law, and this is opposed to positive law, which is human-made. The positive laws in the United States. This is all from Judge Napolitano. This is what I subscribe to, if you wonder what it is. And it's conditioned by history and subjective to continuous change. In other words, you're so much of a slave now, you're a different type of a slave later. Natural law says, doesn't apply to me. And that's, believe it or not, our Constitution basically was based on natural law. And now we say, listen to this. This is the beauty of it. We say, well, you know, it's antiquated. You know, we have to update the. You cannot update natural law.
It's there.
I have friends. I mean, believe me, brilliant guys, a hell of a lot smarter than I am, who will tell me that. I mean, they really progress. They say, well, you know, it was written then. I said, you know what? I got one guy really good. You know what I did? I got the Constitution out. It comes in a little book, and I read the first paragraph, and I said, what part of the first paragraph? I can't read it verbatim, you know, recite it verbatim. And I said, what is it about the first paragraph here that you disagree with? And he could not, because it was all based on. He couldn't say yet. He couldn't be. He said, I don't. I said, well, what part would you change? He says, I wouldn't. I said, then what would you change? And he couldn't tell me, other than it sounded like a convenient statement, so they can enact more legislation. Because, you know, of course, the Constitution is antiquated, it's old. Natural law is not. Those businesses will now, who paid hundreds of thousands to their favorite congressman and senator, they're not going to get a dime. They said, hey, we're out of business. You're not getting a dime. Basically, you'll starve Washington. And, of course, people will be out of a job, so taxes go down, so the federal deficit goes up, makes the president look even worse. And now unemployment goes up to 9, 10%. All because you said, I'm tired, I'm not going to take it anymore. This is my breaking point. I'm not visiting Aunt Martha. And by doing so, you ground an entire industry that affects everyone else. And there's many other things you can do. You don't have to take to the streets. All you need to do, folks, is vote with your pocketbook. Forget the voting booth. Don't go near voting booth. It's immaterial. Just don't buy in. Don't fly, for example. Save your money. Buy long-term foods from Go Foods. Buy buy the security system from All Tech Fire and Security. For example, I'm giving them a plug, but that's for example. Go get good medical attention. If your ears are buzzing, go see, Ranch Shakers Audiology. And I can go on. I'm not making fun of that. I'm being serious. Take your money and invest it and convert all your money to things that are real and can be used. Don't think high tech, because high tech means you're going to be monitored. Everything more high tech, you're going to be monitored. Let's take a break. We'll be right back.
Flying saucers have invaded our planet. The whole world is under attack. Can it survive?
Folks, if you think for a moment that I planned that, endorsed that, encouraged them to do that, if you were surprised, I was more surprised. I'm sitting in a studio waiting to come on, and I hear flying saucers. I mean, these guys are going to drive. Could someone come over here and please restrain these people? Holy my God. I want to make...
And they're still flying around. That's the other thing. Don't you see them?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, sure. I see them. Yeah, I see them. I see them. All right. Yeah. You have to humor these people. That could be dangerous.
They're Zorgites, and we're fighting against them. Can you believe it?
I'm from the planet Zorg. We don't do things like this. Oh, God almighty. Oh, God. I mean, this is too much. I can't do this anymore.
Wait till you...
Folks, you're listening to the University of Logic by Liberty Talk Radio.
You call this logical?
Yeah, it's logical, right? Cristiano's Conservatory, correcting convoluted conversations. You're here and now. I want to make one point before I talk on and change the issue altogether. We say the government is so governments are not compassionate. They don't do anything. They don't give any. These bums, these psychopaths in office, don't give one penny to anybody. They take your money, keep most of it, and then they give a little bit away to some other people. And what happens? They say, "Oh, how wonderful they are!" And by the way, is that working?
It's working.
It's working. Okay. And I checked with our camera.
Yeah, you're on the air. You're on the air. Don't worry, you're on the air.
I know, no one's listening, but I'm on the air. That's the difference. And they say that they've approved the millions and millions of billions of dollars to Hurricane Sandy for those people who were involved and affected by that. Let me just give you an idea. Of that, $4 million went for the Kennedy Space Center, $8 million went for cars and equipment for Homeland Security and the Justice Department, because you're unjust, by the way. $20 million for the Nationwide Water Reserve Study, whatever the hell that is. $41 million to 8 military bases, including Guantanamo. $56 million for charting the debris from last year's Japan's tsunami. $100 million for the federal Head Start daycare program. Stay home. Someone stay home with the kids. $100 million for the Alaskan fisheries. $188 million for new Amtrak lines. They lose billions every year. No one takes it. Build new lines, right? $5.3 billion, or is that $53 billion, to the Army Corps of Engineers. $10.7 billion for public transportation. $13 billion to mitigation projects. Mitigation project, we have a new word, to prepare for future storms. That's awesome as far as I'm concerned. $17 billion. $17 billion for wasteful community development block grants. I don't know what the hell that is.
This is crazy.
And now, how does any of this have to do with nothing?
People
You know, one thing we never talk about, and I want to make mention, is the problem with drugs. You know, as far as I'm concerned, you take whatever you want. The reason why we have a gun problem today is because most people who get shot because they're protecting their territory in drug wars. That's where all the crime takes place. Get rid of the prohibition on drugs. All of a sudden, a drug becomes like aspirin. I don't think there's any aspirin war going on in this country. But the one that I want to key on is the most obvious, and that's marijuana. They talk about medical marijuana versus regular. Who cares? We should have no laws, absolutely no laws promulgated restricting anyone from smoking marijuana. There is no cases of people on marijuana either dying or killing anyone. No one, not one. But yet, people drink alcohol, get in their cars, and they kill. And thousands of people a year are killed because of that. But yet, there is no legislation on alcohol. Not that I think there should be. No, because, first of all, too many judges are alcoholics. Too many of our psychopaths in office are alcoholics. They're not going to give it. They're just not going to give it up. And they make too much money on it.
Make money on the marijuana, too.
Yeah. And, yeah, they make money.
They make marijuana.
Oh, they're making a fortune on that. And I do not understand why we have all these problems. I thought we were going to have a caller in today that was going to call and tell us a little bit about the marijuana project. I said, I'll give you 5 minutes, and we have a few minutes to go. And her name,
we got
her name
time
is
for a
Norma
call.
Sapp. She's in Oklahoma City. She's a real freedom fighter. And she wrote to me. I said, fine, I can't give you a whole program or a half hour, but I'll give you 5 minutes or so, and you can tell us what's going on and what needs to be done. And she's not on the air, which kind of surprised me. And she begged me.
Maybe she's smoking marijuana.
Yeah. I think maybe she was in the first part of the program and gave up. I don't blame
she
her.
heard the flying saucers.
Yeah, well, Norma, if you're out there, just call in 855-866-1170, 855-866-1170. We'll take your call. We're running out of time, so make it quick. All right? I want to solve the problem in school. I'm going to do this right now because this is Cristiano's Conservatory, correcting convoluted conversations. I'm going to make this really straight. Right?
Okay, we're waiting.
Here it is.
With
right?
bated breath.
Before a teacher becomes certified to teach, whatever that's supposed to mean, they must pass a logic test, a critical thinking and logic test. And they've got to take what really happened in history. People ask questions to the teachers, and if the teachers have no idea other than what they've memorized, they can't get certified.
That's a great idea.
I'm serious.
Great idea.
Because most teachers that I know repeat chapter and verse exactly what they read in books.
And you're right, they memorize it.
Yeah, memorize it. That's all.
It doesn't sink in.
If I ever asked, and I've done this several times, asking a teacher about history, I said, well, they teach this. Wasn't so-and-so. Every single time, they get upset. They don't say, oh, no, you're wrong or you're right or yes, that happened. However, there's no conversation. They actually shut down, and I don't go up to them nastily. I said, I don't understand this. Why do you teach this when such and such happened? They get upset. I was at a luncheon one time, which, by the way, I was paying for, and this woman took her girlfriend, happened to be a teacher. Her husband was sick, and it was a thing for the office. And I asked her that question. I'm not kidding you. She took her seat and turned it sideways so she couldn't face me.
Wow.
No, I'm telling you. And teachers are like that. I was on a ski trip one time, and there was a teacher there, and we were waiting for the longest time for the lift stuff and whatever. And I said, oh, you're a teacher? I got a question. I asked the same question. She became irate. She says, where do you get that stuff from? This and that. But she wouldn't discuss it. They get very upset, and they retreat because they don't know. They just don't know. And that's sad. And they're passing that on to our children who are learning the same stuff.
Do they teach them to memorize what?
That's exactly right.
That's right.
Gary,
Memorize
that's
and pass
exactly
a test.
right.
Right.
How about natural law? Do they memorize that? Probably not.
They have no idea what it is.
Of course
They don't mention it. No, absolutely not. There's a book, Lies My Teacher Told Me by James Lowen. and it's
They actually have it in 6
subtitled,
volumes.
Everything. He just wrote this. He's a researcher. He just wrote this, once, and it became an international bestseller immediately. It didn't expect it,
And he couldn't put all the lies in there either.
No, right. Well, no, it's a gigantic book, and I'm starting to read it now.
Yeah.
Everything your American history textbook got wrong, and it is. It is.
That
bigger.
sounds like an inch, and that's just came out. You said?
Oh no! It came out 20 years ago.
Oh,
I think.
it did? Okay.
Yes, he's on 2nd edition, and it's nationwide. He didn't promote it. It went viral back in the old days when viral wasn't cool.
Wow.
Yeah, really neat. And I'm just starting to get into it now.
Is it still in print?
Yes, sure is.
Why don't you tell our listeners the
All right,
title of the
it's
book again?
Lies My Teacher Told Me by James Loewen, Loewen. I'm sure
That's cool.
if
I'd
you
get that one.
Google or whatever search engine, Lies My Teacher Told Me, it'll pop right up. And I'm sure it's on Amazon. I got it from my friend who has a bookstore, and he happened to have a copy, and I bought it from him for a couple of bucks.
Wow.
Fascinating book.
Sounds
Absolutely
fascinating,
Yeah. And that's what we need. We need more people to read. We need, we see these pictures of documentaries of kids in classes in China, in Russia, memorizing, hating America, and all that. And we say, good, we don't do this here. No, we do worse. We have television. In fact, my wife just the other day, she said she doesn't watch television hardly at all. She sat down. She was really tired. She put it on. She wanted to watch the doggy show, and she was trying to find it. And what did you say when you watch it? Don't give me a look. Don't give me that look.
She didn't memorize it.
You said.
I don't know what you're referring to.
You were channel surfing, and you said.
I don't know what I said. What I said?
Okay, I'll tell you what you said.
Okay, here she goes. Yeah.
You said, boy, she says, I can't see what's on TV. They're all commercials.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Tell me if I'm
God,
right.
yes.
Was I right?
Oh, my
Absolutely.
God.
Okay, all right. I'm not
Yeah.
going to
You
get beat
can't
up.
find anything.
Yeah. So
other
No,
than
it is.
commercials.
It's all
just
commercials
being,
there. Yeah,
they
it really
just
is.
want you to be obedient.
And buy.
Watch, become numb. Don't want you to think. Right. Just like school, it's the same thing. Don't
Yes,
think. Right. Be obedient. Right. Get a job and spend your money. That's right. And that's television.
A slave to
That's
commerce.
right. Yeah, we have been zombieized with television.
That's a good expression, a
That's
slave
it.
to commerce, really.
Slave
Yeah.
to commerce. That's what we are.
Absolute slave. I mean, incredibly. And she was just, they're all commercials. And many years ago, Sid Caesar, those times, you had
Oh,
about
yeah.
1 minute worth of commercials in a half hour.
That's right.
Today, almost half of the time is commercials.
Yeah,
Well,
channel surfing isn't any fun because you're just surfing from commercial to commercial.
Exactly.
Unless you're an ad guy and you like commercials. And that's only a very small part of the population.
Okay, folks. This is the end of tonight's broadcast. We'd like to thank our sponsors, and we'd like to thank you for listening in. You can further the cause of liberty by recommending to your friends, and let us hear from you. Folks, all right, it's time for us to take back control of our government now before this bureaucratic, oversized, and self-serving federal government starves us of our property, our freedom, our rights, and our liberty. To do this, we must shed conventional thinking regarding our political structure. We need to be revolutionaries in thought, dissidents in action. Let me say that again. Revolutionaries in thought, dissidents in action. Only after we recognize what our government is doing to our freedom and our Constitution will we start taking it back. And this is what this program's all about. Stay with us. Stay with us. Remember that, and we'll be back next week. Thank you for listening.